Which team do you think places higher in the leaderboard? A team that wins 3 monthly finals or a team that only wins 1? Let's try another example. Both teams here have won 1 monthly final, but this one has missed a month. And yet you will find at the end of the North American season that the team with the most victories out of any other team is second, and the team to have qualified to more monthly finals is below their competition who has missed a month despite having similar placements. And today I'll be explaining how a mid-season LAN, point distributions and bracket seedings have created a biased imbalance in Brawl Stars Esports. But let us start with a recap of the season and an introduction to any new fans. In the main Brawl Stars Esports scene, you have 6 monthly finals spread across 2 splits, with a mid-season LAN in between that takes the top 2 teams from each region in split 1. At the end of the season, there are 2 spots for the World Finals, the biggest event at the end of the BSC year, and also a last chance qualifier that gives the 3rd place team one final opportunity at Glory. In the first split, we had 3 different winners in Team Electros, the rookie underdog that would go on and dominate for the rest of the year. KDS, which went under numerous organization rebrands, but holds the roster of Bobby, Sands and Patchy, the most experienced players in North America, and also Vatic, which holds a strong roster that are still awaiting their first Worlds appearance. And with only 2 spots available for Brawl Cup, you would naturally think that 2 of these 3 teams would have qualified, but you'd be wrong. Because of the way point distribution works in the BSC, the margin between different placements are very, very close, especially at the top 2. The difference between the first and second place in the first split is only 20 points, meaning that Tribe Gaming, consistently runners up, has been awarded a lot of points despite not winning a monthly final. And although it sounds fair for Tribe Gaming, who've been consistent, versus teams that have been a bit spontaneous in performance, all 3 of these teams have beaten Tribe Gaming in the first 3 months of the season, and it's only going to get worse from here on out. So KDS and Tribe Gaming qualified for Brawl Cup, where they certainly surprised a lot of fans. KDS, formerly Only Realm at the time, had a pretty poor run. They were very weak against East Asian giants Data Division, and despite beating Humble in an invitational tournament only a few days prior, they were clean swept by them 3-0 in the quarters. Tribe Gaming performed better, beating the favourites Foot in the group stages 3-2, but were knocked out by Humble 3-0 in the semis. Definitely not a good day for North America. But this is the moment where the troubles begin for the rest of North America. A new rule was implemented for this Brawl Cup, where teams that qualified would receive points that would be added to their regional tally. And for Tribe and KDS, they were awarded 40 and 30 points respectively, the equivalent of finishing second in the monthly final, without any competition, as the rest of the region gained 0 points that month. This was not only a massive advantage for the top 2 teams in every region, but also a threat at every other team's hope for a spot at the postseason. And as we return to our spotlight region of North America, KDS and Tribe Gaming have gained a significant advantage and defensive cushion against their competition. But that was not going to stop the rookies of Team Electros, as they go and beat Tribe in consecutive grand finals, winning 3-0 both times, and claiming their 3rd monthly final win this year, and also their number 1 spot in the region. And with only 1 month left, here was the final run-in. Team Electros and Tribe Gaming were secured for the 2 world final spots, but still a small fight for the seeding. Meanwhile, the fight for 3rd had never been fiercer. With KDS failing to qualify in the July monthly finals, Vatic had managed to catch up in the race for LCQ and were going to need to place 1 position higher than KDS in the final month to secure that LCQ spot. And with the points gaining a 50% increase from split 1, anything was possible. But unfortunately for Vatic, their dreams are crushed by their seasonal rivals, Team Electros. Vatic are no longer in the race, and the LCQ spot is secured for KDS and gives one final chance for Bobby to prove his worth on the LAN stage as he prepares to retire from Brawl Stars Esports this year. However, the month isn't over, as Team Electros and Tribe Gaming face in another tense, both sides were drafting bad, but they meet again in a grand final to decide who claims the number 1 seed in North America. And Tribe finally win their first monthly final after an entire year, by the way. Now, in a normal season, the seeding isn't important, but because of a new format change heading into the 2026 World Finals, The top seeded team in the main 4 regions, including North America, can avoid the group stages on day 1 and automatically qualify for the top 8, which would have been a massive advantage for Team Electros had they secured that spot. But for now, we have the big review, and what you're about to find is that neither Tribe Gaming or KDS deserve their spot, but also Team Electros and Vatic have both been robbed for different reasons in my opinion. Let us start by comparing Tribe and Team Electros. First of all, one team has won 1 monthly final whilst the other has won 3, the most out of any team in the region. And although Tribe have remained consistently second, they have been awarded the first seed. And it's all the same with Vatic and KDS. One team went to Brawl Cup and gained 30 points while the other one just wasted at home, gaining nothing. And I think the BSC has really messed up this year, especially in North America, for 3 big reasons. Firstly, the point distribution. Like I mentioned earlier, the difference between first and second is not a large gap. Same with second and third and fourth, which creates tension during the season but can also be pretty unfair here, especially when Team Electros, who won the most monthly finals in the year, are now second because their rivals Tribe Gaming have been second 4 out of 6 months and then win their final monthly final during the 1.5 multiplier effect. The second reason, and the reason that affects all 4 teams, is Brawl Cup. The points awarded to both Tribe and KDS has had a major boost advantage for the rest of the season, and very unreasonable, unfair ones at that too. Tribe finished top 4 with an easier quarterfinals compared to KDS, but both teams had a mediocre performance at Brawl Cup. Tribe definitely got lucky against Foot in the group stages because of drafting, and KDS were just pretty abysmal. But they were both awarded a lot of points, and if we were to remove those points or even just reduce them by half, then you would find not only Tribe in second but also KDS in fourth, which would have given Vatic the LCQ spot they had been grinding for the whole season. If you couldn't already tell, I strongly dislike the amount of points given out to the Brawl Cup teams, especially when the rest of the teams outside of the LAN had no way to gain more points that month. The third and final reason, which affected Vatic more than anyone, is the monthly final bracket system. And you are not going to believe how incredibly unjust it has been for Vatic this year. To qualify for the monthly finals, you need to go through the monthly qualifiers, which determines the teams in the highest seeding and also lowest seeding, and then their brackets for the monthly finals are arranged as such. Normally, you'll see the first seed team against the seed 8 team, and then the 4th and 5th seeded teams all on one side of the bracket, and on the other side you'll have 2nd against 7th seed and 3rd against 6th in the other side. And even though it's a pretty fair system, there has been one team that has been screwed time and time again for an amplitude of reasons, and of course it's Vatic. In the entire North American season, Team Electros, the best performing team in North America prior to August, had to face Vatic a total of 5 times. 4 of those being in the semi-finals, and every single time Vatic lost. And the month they didn't face each other was the same month Vatic went on to become April monthly final winners. And that is because Team Electros were the first seeded team and Vatic were for the whole season 4th or 5th, meaning they would always be facing one another in the semis and for the whole season. And that essentially locked out Vatic from making another grand final as long as Team Electros were in the semis. And skill issue is a reasonable answer here, but let's look at the other side of the bracket where we had Tribe and KDS. Excluding grand finals, Team Electros had only ever faced Tribe twice, both being the first 2 months where teams are still being arranged in the leaderboard based on their seeding. But in the entire 6 months, they have never, and I mean never, faced KDS. And given that the seeds 3, 6 and 7 were always avoiding the highest seeds, it kind of made that side of the bracket way easier for them. And because the only way Vatic could join that side would be to perform worse than the competition around them, they were also never able to face KDS or Tribe before the grand finals. And that creates this equality disparity, because if we had moved Vatic to the other side, I bet we would see a lot more of them, not only in semis but also in the grand finals, and maybe even winning grand finals. And that could also have meant that we see two different teams going to Brawl Cup representing North America. Brackets and seeding have been a debated argument for a long time in the BSC and even more now. And this is the biggest piece of evidence showing almost how biased and kind of bad it is. It could be worse, it could be randomly generated brackets, but we definitely need to start having this conversation about how we can fix this issue along with the other issues related in the video. But if you're interested in Brawl Stars and its esports, I cover a lot of informative videos, analysis and other content that you would definitely enjoy. So please consider helping me out by liking and subscribing the video. Starting with the brackets and seedings at the start of monthly finals, I think they're fine as they are, but I believe that we should swap some duos around. For example, we can change it such that for 1 month, the team that wins out of the 1st and 8th seed faces a 3rd or 6th team rather than a 4th and 5th. And then another month, they will face the 2nd and 7th seeded teams, meaning for teams like Vatic, they're not always locked into playing the same top seeded team every month and fail to make any progress in the leaderboards. It kind of changes things up, makes it a bit random but also quite fair for all the teams. For Brawl Cup, I think we need to either scrap the points or significantly reduce them. It's just unbelievably unfair that teams sort of get to play just another monthly final and gain loads of points for just showing up, whilst the rest of their competition can only sit and watch as they pray these teams fail in the second split. And so I made these changes to the points if they decide to keep points for Brawl Cup next year. The top 2 teams are the ones who have done the best, and so I believe they shouldn't really be nerfed as much, because those are the teams that do best at Worlds and basically deserve that qualification. But for the rest of the competition, they still need to prove themselves, at least to me, and can only return with a few points. And if we take Brawl Cup for example, Humble and Foot made a mockery out of all the teams. So it's kind of a scam that Tribe gained more points than KDS, and really every single team in the top 8, despite the top 2, should have just gone home with like 20 points. And finally, the monthly final point distribution. Honestly, I think it's kind of stupid that the difference between top 4 and 2nd place is the same difference between 1st and 2nd. And so I just want to rework it a bit by giving 10 more points to the 1st seeded team. I don't want to make that massive difference, but I also want to make it more understandably fair for a team that wins more than a team that comes consistently 2nd, but like Tribe, a team that almost never wins a set in the grand finals. Consistency should definitely be rewarded, and it has been. Tribe would still make top 2 because they've been consistently great, always making that top 2. But I also feel like we should reward teams that go that further mile and then win the whole thing. I think they should gain a few more points as well. And it's only 10 points, which would extend to about 15 more points in the second split. But that makes the massive difference here.